What's up guys, it's me, Damien from Cool Mentors IT. I hope you're all okay. Today we meet to end our HTML beginner's guide. This is part 2 of the video, so if you haven't seen the first part, I encourage you to do so. You can find the link to the first part in the description below, and now let's get back to business. Previously we were talking among other things about the default styles defined by the browser in our HTML file. Here we can see the default styles defined by our browser in our HTML file. So here we got the H1 tag, which is the biggest one. Then we have the H2 tag, which is smaller. The smallest tag is the H6 tag. Here we can see an A tag, where you can see it has blue color by default and the underline beneath. This is default style for all links in HTML. Then we got our P tag. In our P tag we have a span tag, which is no different by default. Then we have our strong tag, which is bold by default. Then we have our article tag, which looks the same as the P tag. The next thing is the UL tag, which is our list. And in our list, we have the list items right here. In our list items, we have a text in the B tag, which is also bold by default. Then we have the text in the I tag, which is italic. And the last one is the text in the U tag, which has the underline just like links. But today I want to focus on something else. I want to talk about other properties given by the browser according to HTML5 specification. Every HTML element is specified by the browser as block or inline. The most of the HTML elements are block by default. For example, div, h1 to h6, article, header, nav, or the body. We also got inline elements in HTML such as span, B, strong, img, or the A tag. And from these properties follows the behavior of our elements. One quick disclaimer, just because they are block or inline by default doesn't mean we can't change it by ourselves. I'm gonna show you how this works in the browser so you can see it by yourself. You can see in our example that we have 3 block elements and 3 inline elements right here. The first difference you can see is that block elements place themselves one below other, and the inline elements place themselves next to each other. It's because every block element takes up 100% of the width of the free space in its parent element. In our case, our block elements are directly in the body, so the body is the parent element for our block elements, so they have 100% of the width of the body tag. Here you can see its width is 372 pixels. It looks larger because I zoomed it, but that will change when I'll change the size of our window. If I make it smaller, like this, you can see now it's 244 pixels. But when I make it bigger, like this, now it's got 647 pixels, because it's always 100% of the body tag. Now let's get back to normal with it. And let's go to another thing. You can see right here, we got 3 empty div tags. And as you can see in our DevTools, they also have the 100% of the width of its parent element, but its height is 0. So that makes them invisible. Even if we put here 100 empty divs, 100 times 0 is still 0, so all of these divs would be still invisible. On the other hand, inline element takes up only as much space as it needs, so the width of the element depends on its text width. I'm gonna show you how this works. We're going to add some text to our element, and you can see it's bigger now. Okay, now let's go back to normal. How it should be done. Like this. And here you can see we have also 3 empty span tags right here. And unlike in the block elements, its width is set to 0 and its height depends on the line where they are. So you can see the whole line's height is 18 pixels, just like our empty spans, but the width of the empty spans is 0. In this case, the width was 100%, but the height was 0, and in this case, it's kinda opposite. But the empty spans are invisible, just like empty divs. But what I wanted to show you is that block elements give you more possibilities to modify them. I'm gonna show you some example. Let's go to our first div, and let's play with its styles. You can see its display block. And let's change its width. Here we go. see it. Now you can see the blue area is the width of our element and the orange element is free space. Let's change its background to see it better. We can make a background color. Let's make it cadet blue. And you can see it has 50% of our website's width. Let's change the font color as well. Just to see it better. And let's change the height of our element as well. Let's make it 100 pixels. Now you can see it changed visibly. We can highlight it in our DevTools. And as you can see, it has the 50% of our website of the width and 100 pixels of its height. Now let's try to do the same in the inline element. Let's scroll down a little bit. Go to our first span. And let's give it some styles. First, let's change the background. There we can see the changes. Now let's change the color of the font. There we can see it changed. Now let's try to change its width. We can see it didn't work. Let's try with the height. And it didn't work either, because inline elements can't be changed that simply. But what we can do is to change our inline element into block element. So we can change it like this with the display property and its value set to block. And voila. We can see now it has 100% of the width of the website and 100 pixels of its height. The same thing we can do with the block element. Let's go to our div right here. And let's make it display inline. Now our div is inline and its width and height can't be changed. For now, just remember that by default the block element takes up the entire free space for its width. So there's no room for another element in the same line. So the block elements place themselves one below other. Inline elements take up only the space they need, so they can place themselves next to each other in one line as long as they have free space for it. The height of both of these types depends on the space they need. But the truth is that we usually want to change the default styles of our block elements to put them directly where we want them to be and give them the precise width and height. We will also often change the type of the inline element to block so we could change it more easily, as I showed you before. We don't do it often because it's not practical, but you can also go to the inline from the block. Classes and identifiers, the last thing we necessarily have to understand. As you know already, the HTML language is based on the tags. In every HTML tag we can place the attributes. 90% of the attributes we are going to use are classes or identifiers, also known as IDs. To create the attribute in our tag, we have to place the name of our attribute after a tag name. The name of our attribute is ID, and after equal sign in a double notation marks, we have to place a value of our attribute. In our case, it's the name of our ID, which we can use by ourselves. So we have a div tag with an ID image. The most important thing we need to know about the ID attribute is that we can use it only once in our document. We can have many IDs with different values, but we can't put the ID with the same value in two different elements. Now, how to refer to our element with the ID in CSS to change its width and height? We have to use this notation, div hash image. Then we declare the width and the height of our element. Since we can place our ID only once, there's no need to put the div in front of our selector in CSS, because we can tell the CSS to find any element with our ID, no matter if it's div, p, or span. But what actually is this selector? Selector is the indicator of our HTML element we want to change. The second attribute commonly used in HTML is the class. In our example, we can see a p tag with the class attribute with the Arial value. Once again, its value is the name of our class we choose by ourselves. And in this case, it refers to the font we want to use in our element. The main difference between the class and the ID is that we can use the same class in many elements on our website. So we can have many paragraphs with the class Arial on our website, and each of them will get the Arial font. As you can see, we refer to the class in CSS by the dot. It's visible that only our paragraph has this font, while the article has different font. But if we want our article to have the Arial font as well, we can easily put our Arial class into our article tag. This is something that couldn't be done if we would use the ID instead of the class attribute. But then we have to remove the P from our selector and leave only the dot at the beginning. In this way, we refer to every element with the Arial class, no matter if it's a p tag, an article, or anything else. Our next meeting will focus entirely on CSS, and then I'll try to explain it better. But for now, I just want you to get used to the relationship between HTML and CSS, so it would be easier for you when you'll see the CSS code next time. And here's a first bonus for you. We will work with CodePen very often, and I want to show you how to carry your code from the CodePen to the code editor on your computer so that you could work with it on your local machine. What do we have in CodePen HTML overlap is actually a body of our HTML structure. So basically what you need to do is to create the new HTML file on your computer with the basic HTML structure and put everything what's here to the body tag in your HTML file. So let's go to our code editor. Let's create a new file. Name it index.html. When we have opened it, we can create our HTML structure with Emmet shortcut. And that is exclamation mark and enter. Let's save it. Let's name it properly. And now we have to copy our code from HTML overlap on CodePen. We can do it by selecting all with Ctrl and A on our keyboard, like this. Ctrl C is the copy shortcut, like this. And then we go to our code editor, to our body tag right here. And paste it also with the keyboard shortcut Ctrl V. Let's save it, Ctrl S on our keyboard. There we go. And now we want to create a new file like this. Let's call it style CSS. And there we can put our CSS code. So let's do CodePad again. Let's go get to our CSS overlap. Select it all with Ctrl A on our keyboard. Copy it with Ctrl C on our keyboard. Go to our style CSS file in our code editor, paste it with Ctrl V on our keyboard, Ctrl S to save it. And now what we need to do is to synchronize our CSS file with our HTML file. So let's go back to our index.html. Let's go to our head tag right here. So let's put our CSS file below our title. Let's just type link, press enter. And then we have ready link tag with two attributes in it. The rel attribute is style sheet, so we can place our CSS file in it. And the href attribute is empty at the moment. And what we need to do is to place the path to our file here. Since our style CSS and index.html files are in the same catalog, all we need to do is to type here the name of our CSS file. So let's type it, style CSS. Press enter, Ctrl S to save it, and now everything should work fine. Let's open our website in the live server, like here, and voila. Everything is the same as in our CodePen project, right here. My second bonus for you is the starter pack. It's a bundle with 2 integrated files. There's the HTML file with the basic head structure and empty body tag ready for you to build it however you want. There's also an empty CSS file integrated with our HTML document, so you can easily start and change something in the layout of our website. The link to this bundle will be in the description below. Of course, you can create those files and integrate them by your own, but you can also use the bundle I offer you. The last bonus for today is a few words of encouragement. Don't give up. It's worth it. There will be moments when you'll doubt in yourself, but you need to stand up and try once again. There's nothing more important than not giving up. And that's all for today. We're getting close to make our first website. My next video will focus on the CSS theory, but right after that we are jumping to the code editor and get our website done. And for now, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like, subscribe our channel if you want to see me again. Hit that notification bell if you want to be up to date. If you have some questions, I'll be down in the comments to help you out. My name is Damien, this is Cool Mentors IT, and I hope to see you guys next time.